Welcome to the Own Your Best Life podcast. I'm May Emson, your host, leadership and mindset coach. Here, we talk all things spiritual, mindset, business, leadership, and wellness for the modern seeker who wants to align their life with purpose and inspiration. We'll cover career changes, stress management, meditation, energy, intuition, and more. Each episode holds spiritual and practical tools to help you live a life of your wildest dreams without getting burnt out along the way. Ready to live a life on your own terms? This is the Own Your Best Life podcast. Welcome, friends, to episode number 9 of the Own Your Best Life podcast. There comes a time in your life when you start to really wonder, is this all there is? And if you're starting to ask yourself that question, what do I really want to do with my life? You're in the right place. Today we're going to talk about how your work, career, and vocation all fit into this plan. So what do I really want to do with my life? What do I stand for? Who am I? And you're asking this because many of your survivalist mentalities, like getting paid so that you have food and shelter, are finally satisfied. And you begin to realize that your spirit may have been ignored along the way. And when you start to become dissatisfied, that's when your spirit starts to emerge. That's when you begin to tap into this higher order of thinking that you want to bring into your life. And today we'll be talking about how to actually bring spirit into your work so that mind, heart, soul, all of those things are fully lit up and you become a truly full being. First things first, you're not born to do a job. So there's a hierarchy to the work you do, and you may not even realize that this has always been at play. The first order of the hierarchy is to get a job, a J-O-B. And the second order is then to have a career. The third is a vocation. And when you think of a job, the J-O-B, this job is that survival part of your life. And we often associate it with those Sunday scaries where we really are dreading Monday morning and we complain when we get home at night. It's when we feel powerless to change the environment that we're in, and all we focus on is how quickly we can clock in and out. And just so you know, this isn't a bad thing. This 9-to-5 attitude is a reality. It's a reality within our cultural or social norms. And the thing you do have to know about this is that you can experience spirituality at work, even in this kind of job. You'll learn new things. You'll meet great people. You can create meaning out of this work. You can develop a sense of community, identify what your talents are and are not. And this is available to you in every single job. You will get to the point, however, when you start to feel like you're not learning anymore. And you realize that even though all of these survival needs are now being satisfied, your spirit is telling you it's time to move on. And those were those nudges of, hey, you know what, maybe start looking for another role right now, or maybe it's time to do something else. And as you move on, you string together more and more of these jobs. And this is what creates your career. A career in which you're earning a decent income, hopefully. And the main difference between a career and a job is that you're now looking for longer term advancement opportunities. You're looking for promotions, maybe increased pay and more responsibilities. You're setting goals, looking for training opportunities, and you may even have a healthy sense of competition within the workplace with others. So these all sound good. So if these are all good, why am I feeling dissatisfied? One of the reasons you're likely dissatisfied now is that you're actually looking for a passion. a passion that will lead you to a vocation. You're looking for a vocation, not a career, and you don't even realize it. And one of the clear signs you're looking for a vocation is that you feel like you need to be of service. You want others to be more than what they are. You want to help or heal the world and serve in some way. And when I began to identify my calling, my vocation, it started with the thought that I wasn't having the impact on the world that I knew I could. And I knew that my gifts were not being utilized. And for years, I had this latent sense of dissatisfaction. And this was the voice of my soul telling me that it was being ignored and that my passions were starving. I did have the survival mentality, though, of get the job, get the education, get the really amazing job, get the really amazing education, because that will provide for my needs and my wants. And I was good at the work I was doing and better than average even, but I wanted to be best in class. And not only that, I wanted to have an impact while doing so. And if you sense that your passion is waiting to unfold, then you're in search of a vocation, not just a career. And if you start to ask yourself, what am I doing here? Or why have I been born? You're asking yourself about your vocation. Instead, you think it has to do with your next career move or what your career should look like, and that you'll be happy once you figure that out. Am I right? Yes. I know I'm right, because most people come to me asking about their next career move, when in reality, at some point, what they're really asking when they figure this out is that they're looking for their vocation. So don't get me wrong. You will be happy once you figure out your next career move. And not only will you be happy, but you'll then have the space to start asking the next question, which is, what am I really here for? So it's not wasted time and effort to try to figure out your next career move. I just want you to understand this hierarchy and how it moves so you know where you are in it today. And my work here is to guide you through the not so good to the good and then to the great. And I want you all to be happy in your careers. And if you're already happy in your careers, I want you to know you can create an even greater sense of fulfillment when you're ready by stepping into your vocation. So what is the process? Stepping into your vocation is a spiritual process of self-discovery. This is when you begin to do the work of integrating your physical, right, those survival needs, and these emotional needs into a whole self, where you can begin to live a life of more service. And if this appeals to you, this idea of bringing all of your parts within, you're really on a spiritual path. You're really on a spiritual journey. And we begin to ask ourselves, what would we do if money wasn't a concern? What would we do if we knew we couldn't fail? Or if I knew I was worthy to do anything, what would I do? And these questions bring out all these patterns of behaviors that can be summed up into things like your inner child, the victim, the saboteur, and all of these patterns of behaviors may keep us from living out our inner desires. And overcoming these patterns may require you, and actually will require you, to do something that's going to look a little bit crazy. And if it looks a little bit crazy, this is a good sign. This is when inspiration is starting to emerge, and your ego, right, that fear side of you, and your higher self, right, spirit, the inner voice that you know is what you really want to trust, they'll start to battle you for attention. Your ego is going to tell you that you're going to fail, that you're alone, you're going to run out of money, you're going to end up in this cycle of fear, and you spiral. Your higher self and spirit is telling you that you have talent and you have potential. And that potential is being awakened by your vision. And by definition, you don't know, because this is the future, what this will look like. And you don't know this yet because it's new. So yes, you will be new at this. But the mistakes you will make if you listen to this fear are much greater than any of the mistakes you'll make by listening to your higher self. When you listen to your fear, you will keep yourself living in the past. And if you keep using the past to try to create a future, you're going to stay in this karmic cycle of where you are today. Anytime you look at your history, you're going to run into that ego and that fear-based self of yours. The spirit, the higher self, will give you direction, a way forward in terms of inspiration. Yet, sometimes actually not having a history is going to be a positive thing. So not having a history is okay. It's a matter of perspective. And this is what I want you to realize and shift. So instead of thinking, you know what, I've never done this before, realize that, hey, I don't know what my abilities will be in this. And this is when you can use those patterns of that inner child for good. You can start to see, hey, I have this feeling of play, of lightness, of curiosity, of newness, and how amazing it's going to be. And when you're able to shift your perspective, you'll realize that having no history means there's less healing here that needs to be done to make this happen. So your job here is to just maintain that vision. And it is a full-time job. I will tell you this from experience and from working with others. It's a full-time job to consistently tap into that part of yourself where your passion, your future lies. And you tend to it every single day. From a spiritual perspective, the purpose of life is this journey of integrating all the parts of your spirit that have been broken apart after you were born. When you think of all the different experiences that you've had, each of them has so many jewels of wisdom, so many small but really important experiences that when you collect all of this that you've discovered in your life path, this is the journey. You're integrating all these different pieces. I've learned this here, I've learned that there. This taught me this taught me that. Not only that, this journey of becoming more conscious is to find parts of you that haven't yet been absorbed into your energetic field. And then we start to bring them in consciously and fully. And for example, if you think about difficult or challenging experiences we've had, these tell us what parts of ourselves we still need to heal. Even when you think of people that you may have, envy with or jealousy in terms of the feelings or behaviors that you express, what that shows to you is that there's a part of you in them that would fulfill your soul that you haven't yet absorbed. Maybe they're in a shining example of progress that you haven't yet made, of standing up for something that you haven't stood up for, of being so comfortable in their own skin. Whatever it is, these are also parts of yourself. And I remember times that I've either had challenges or envy or any of these feelings. And when I've realized that this pattern of behavior was coming about, I started to realize that any time that I start to feel disempowered, I have to be mindful. I have to be mindful that this seemingly negative experience with this person is really a positive experience. It means that there's something here yet that still needs to be absorbed, a lesson learned, a power of example that my soul actually wants to be more fulfilled. And when you have this experience, it asks you and it asks me to start to look inward instead of outward for all of our personal power. So you're on a spiritual path, if you haven't realized it or not by now. You've decided that you want your job to go through that transformation of becoming a career and then becoming an entirely different thing, becoming a vocation. And you've asked really for a process to occur inside of you when you think you've asked for a career. So this spiritual path often contains a feeling of betrayal, of dissatisfaction with your work and with the world, and you'll start to lose a sense of trust in the world or the system, and you start thinking, this isn't my path, this isn't fair. And that's when you wake up. And that's when you wake up and you realize that your desire for a career or a vocation is really to find the power that exists inside of you instead of outside of you. You start to realize all the ways in which you've let the outside world and your inner patterns and limiting beliefs dictate how you live. You begin to examine these influences. You begin to identify these limiting beliefs and the patterns that aren't serving you. And this is when you need to take a hard look at your patterns, because from a spiritual point of view, the question is going to be asked, can you be trusted? Can you be trusted to carry out the visions you'll receive? You're receiving them all day long, but can you be trusted to carry them out? And will you be able to manage the energy you're going to receive through your system? Will you serve others or will you serve yourself? And the universe is saying to you, hey, don't worry about taking care of yourself. We'll take care of you. But can you be trusted to work with us? Some of the feelings that you're going to have as this starts to happen is feelings of aloneness and how others don't understand what you're going through. And I remember when I started waking up to this process of identifying a vocation, of trying to figure out what was going on, I did feel alone. I felt like, hey, everyone else seems fine with their life, and how come I'm the one that's feeling disturbed here? And how come I'm the one who feels the sense of urgency to figure things out and to figure out how I can impact the world and how I can really utilize my gifts? And that feeling of aloneness doesn't end, and there's a reason for that. This is your process. Aloneness isn't a bad thing, by the way. This is your process. This is your transformations. And others aren't supposed to understand you. You're not even supposed to know what it will all look like in the end, right? And I think we have this all backwards. We think, what we're really looking for is a safe and comfortable space where we know exactly what's going on. But the reality is when you start to lean into a process of looking for a greater and deeper sense of connection to yourself, this will all lie in the unknown. All of this internal power lies in connecting to something that you may not even see now. And you think of all the great visionaries of the world. That is the point. They were visionary. That means they really had to rely on a vision pulling them forward, one in which they did not know yet how to make happen because it has not yet been done. And so if you want to live your life with a greater sense of vision, a greater sense of purpose, you'll need to realize that that feeling of aloneness, this feeling of not knowing yet, this feeling of I'm not sure is going to be part of this process. All you do know right now, probably, is that this isn't it anymore. And what used to satisfy you, what used to work, isn't satisfying you and isn't working today. And that first step, the first step is just being willing to identify that you're dissatisfied. And even though you might not have the capabilities, and you most likely don't have the capabilities for what's coming next, you know that what you're doing now isn't it. It's not the end of your story. The second step then is to act on those inspirations. And this is when it gets scary because I know that financial concerns are real. But trust me when I say that acting on your inspiration can take many forms. And when you are determined to follow the guidance you receive, you will be supported. Practically, you actually need to develop skills. You need to develop the new skills. You need to meet the people you need to meet in order for you to move on to your next step. And these opportunities will come into your life, sent by the universe when you say yes to your dreams. And there are many questions to ask to get clarity and keep you focused, but we'll start with these two today, and this is where we will end. First question, and you can write this down and write the answer down. What opportunities do you feel are emerging, are coming out that you would like to explore? So again, what opportunities do you feel are emerging, are appearing, are taking shape that you would like to explore? Second question, what intuitive feelings do you have coming forth right now? What are some of the signals that you're getting? What are you feeling right now? So again, if you have a journal nearby, I would write the answers down now and just get started. Get started on listening to your true desires and get clear on the patterns that may be holding you back from acting on them. I know that listening to your intuition isn't easy, but I will tell you from years of this and from seeing so many examples of how it has not failed the people who decided to lean into their intuition, it is entirely worth it. Well, that's it, my friends, for today's episode. If you like this topic, figuring out what you really want to do with your life, you're going to love my new 4-month intuitive leadership coaching program. It's for the spiritual achiever, the soulful leader who's looking for more meaning, purpose, and fulfillment in their lives. And I'm hosting a free 3-day live stream starting on June 1st on what it means to be an intuitive leader, what it means to lead from intuition, and how to actually co-create a life of more meaning, fun, and purpose, whether it's at work or at home. So go to www.mayemson.com/intuitive leadership to sign up for the live stream, or just check the show notes. The link is in there. I hope to see you all there. Have a wonderful week. I'll talk to you all later. Bye now. Thanks so much for joining us this week on Own Your Best Life. Make sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts so that you'll never miss a show. And while you're at it, can you please rate and review on iTunes? I would so appreciate it. Share it with a friend, take a screenshot of it, and tag @MayEmson. This helps continue to get the word out. For more show notes and resources, check out www.mayemson.com. You'll have all the links to everything you heard here today. Thanks so much for listening. It's time to own your best life.